Rev up your engines!
Check it out, modern technology moves forward. Now, as you can see, they're touting it to be a warning system for deer while you're driving down the road, but it's a lot more than that. It does the warning if people are passing you too close, if you get too close to something. And the interesting thing is, it's a combination of thermal imaging and regular camera. So, let's say you're driving down a road and it's all foggy. The thermal imager is going to see through the fog. I don't advise driving super fast, but hey, you'll be able to at least see what's going on in front of you. Quite an interesting device. I just mounted it here. This isn't my phone. This is the system itself. As you can see, it can do thermal imaging. It can do a fusion mode of thermal and regular. It can do visible light mode, so you can see the visible light. You see it's wide angle, and then it goes back to auto mode, so it'll do visible when it's bright, thermal when it's night. You can see it's warning us there's things around us because I'm half in the driveway, half out. Now, of course, many modern cars have systems like this. These cars cost anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000. The brains of the unit is this thermal imaging camera. Now, it's mounted on the top. It's got magnets on it holding it on. I just put it there because it's convenient. You can mount it anywhere you want on the outside of the car. You could mount it here. You could mount it wherever you want, as long as there's nothing in front of the lens. Because it's a real thermal camera, it can't go through the glass. That screws up the thermal imaging system. It's got to be outside the car. It takes both visible light and thermal imaging, and it projects it on the screen. But it's not just pictures. It also has artificial intelligence built in. Watch this. We'll drive in my garage. As we get close to stuff, it's warning you that there's a thermal event going on, which would be a live animal or person. Now here's a test if a person is walking across. Well, you certainly can't miss that. And like I said, that's why it has to be mounted on the outside of the car, because it can't be like my little camcorder here for recording video while I'm driving, because the thermal doesn't go through the glass very well. And as you can see, if you put the artificial intelligence on, it starts talking to you. Outside in auto mode, you can see it switches back and forth when you're in the dark to the bright, infrared to regular color. Now we're back in the regular color because we're in the sun. Warning us of the car ahead. You can see the car ahead. Does a pretty good job picking up these cars. Okay, here we go. Picking up the car on the left. There's the car on the left. It's picking it up. Does a pretty good job. As you can see, it doesn't get confused. There's a big rock in my yard, and as I drive by, you notice it doesn't put any real warning about the rock because it's a rock. It's not a car shape. It also isn't confused by the mailboxes. It doesn't pick them up either. Or my bags of recycling leaves. I'll drive around, check out some other stuff. We'll drive it in the garage. Now it's recognizing stuff, but it's not warning us. The camera itself, great infrared camera. It's got really good resolution. You can have a mixture of thermal and regular light. You can have just thermal. You can have automatic. But I do have to say, their artificial intelligence is pretty much garbage. You notice when my wife walked across, you saw her quite well, you could see it, but the warning system didn't warning pedestrians walking across. So, I gotta say, these guys got a long way to go before they can sell this to the public, saying that the artificial intelligence in it works, because it's garbage. Sometimes it warns you, sometimes it doesn't. Like I say, this is something that just came out. An interesting idea. Didn't have you put any directions. Had no directions in it whatsoever. And then they sent me some PDFs for a generic camera system that they have. Not for this particular setup, but I'm a mechanic, so I figured out how to hook it up and plug in it and turn it on. But as for operating the thing, no directions whatsoever, even in the stuff that they sent me. So, hey, you guys got a long way to go if you're going to sell this to the public for $600-700 or whatever you're charging. The camera works fine, right? But your artificial intelligence is just that. It's totally artificial. It's supposed to do like the modern cars do. When cars are passing you, it's supposed to warn you. It gives you a light if you're watching the camera, but it doesn't warn you. Doesn't say vehicle passing. That stuff just doesn't work correctly. Once in a while it'll work, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. It is not ready for prime time. And let's face the facts, okay? You can't be looking at the little screen for deer while you're driving. You want it to warn you. Warning, animal, person, whatever ahead. Warning, warning. That part just doesn't work. If these guys want to send me another one to try out, I'm all ears. I'll try it out, right? Please put actual directions with a booklet or at least a PDF that explains how this thermal master system works. This is an NV300 Max. Is what they call it, right? But it just doesn't talk. The camera's fine. Now, if you always have a co-pilot, it could be like the old B-17 bombers. There's a pilot, then there was a navigator. The navigator told the pilot where to go, right? Well, if you had a navigator, they could be watching the screen the whole time and say, whoa, there's a deer ahead. But for a person who's driving by themselves, hey, you can't be looking at the screen. So I give this an F for that. I'll give you a B for effort, but I give you an F for your actual application, because your software is garbage. The artificial intelligence, it doesn't pick up the stuff. The camera does, fine. The camera picks it up, and it's got square things because it's a thermal camera. And I mean, all the cameras that I have, modern cameras, I usually use Panasonic cameras because I like them. They have the same thing where I can shoot thermal and it'll put orange squares around the thermal items, right? That stuff's been out a long time. But these guys are claiming, hey, we've got artificial intelligence that'll warn you. Guess what? It doesn't work. And of course, most people are going to be intimidated by all these wires. I mean, look at them all. And since it came with no directions, I was able to figure out how to hook it up. I'm a mechanic, right? You got to screw this apart. Then there's a place you snap things in. And then if you did a permanent job, you have to hide all these wires, which would be a royal pain in the butt. I mean, I'll give them a positive that it's wired, because I'll tell you the truth of the matter. Any of these cameras I've tested out that are wireless, none of them work very well. They lose signal. There's too much data. And these data cords work great. You could have half thermal, half visible light. You could see the animals or people walking around. And it recognized the cars on the road, but it gave no verbal warning. So I do have to say, the software is, and it's an awful lot of money for something just like that. AI doesn't work. And I found this is totally typical with many Chinese products. Of course, it's a Chinese product. Their software is garbage. They sell stuff that isn't ready for prime time. Now, this company has sold thermal cameras for a long time, and they work really well. And this thermal camera works well. But the artificial intelligence that's supposed to warn you what's happening, it gets an F. I gotta say, the stuff that I have on modern cars, when I'm road testing them and checking them out for people and fixing them, the ones that are built in, lane departure and stuff, they work. This doesn't. Don't be fooled by advertising or people making videos say this is great. The system has bad software, and unless you want to buy just a thermal camera, you're wasting your money thinking that this is going to warn you. In the garbage it goes. I should have known when I opened up the box and there weren't any directions whatsoever. That's kind of clue number one. If they can't even put directions in their box, this is a brand new device. And right out of the box, it has inconsistent software. I tested it out and I give it an F. Because you can't drive down the road looking at their little screen. You got to be watching the road, right? And it's one thing if it says, hey, there's a deer up, or a warning, warning. But sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, and that doesn't cut the mustard. Oh, well, live and learn, and at least you didn't have to waste your money on this thing. I tried it out, so you don't have to waste money on things that don't work. Now, if there's anybody out there that has one of these artificial intelligent ones that actually works, and you really believe in your product, hey, just Gmail, ScottyKilmer@gmail.com. Set it up, you can send me one, and I'll see if it's better than this one. The camera, phenomenal. The software, horrendous. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.